Hi, Amrita. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Mahathi. Really lovely being here.
So, how have things been with you during the second wave? The second crisis has really been, sorry, not this crisis currently that we're going through has been really awful. How has it things been for you? Has work been put on hold again?
Yes, definitely. We've actually completely shut shop for the month of April and now May, and we don't know when we'll resume. But I think
Okay.
what's important is that we all come out of it safely, and
Yeah.
that's really where our focus is on making sure everyone's safe. And there's always going to be lots of time to make a lot of money and do a lot of beautiful things. So right now, it's best to stay home.
Yeah, that's true. And in fact, last year also you had to obviously pause a bit on your work, right? And you said you started concentrating on workshops. So is that something you're focusing on at the moment as well?
Yes, actually, I mean, this wasn't a result of the lockdown, but it's been something that's on my to-do list for the last 3 years, and I never really got the time in between work to focus on building an online school. So it gave me an opportunity last year, and we have built a very strong online photography school for anyone who wants to become a newborn and child photographer, and we've added to it through the year. And this year we're amplifying it further because I think
Okay.
we are all going to be locked down for some time, and it's good to focus our energies on something that keeps us sanity. So, yes, even the second wave has us doing a lot of online workshops and helping students remotely, thanks to technology, to help them hit the ground running when things open up.
Yeah, no, that's really nice because I saw your website and the number of workshops that you have. I was imagining what is a typical day like for you?
Uh, well, during the lockdown, I
No,
shouldn't talk about the lockdown days because
yeah.
it brings out the
But
lazy
on
side
a
in you as
normal
well.
day, how do you manage so many things?
Well, honestly, you cannot really get too much done without an efficient team backing you. And honestly, I have like an all women's team, and they're
Yeah.
amazing women. They all work remotely in different cities and countries, and have their own lives, their own families to take care of. So I offer a lot of flexibility around that. But when they work, they really, really move things for me. They're really the pillars of what we've built so far. One of the things, or rather, to answer your question, how I spend my days, I'm typically in shoots all day. So I have
Okay.
these amazing women handle everything else for me, battle everything out for me in terms of, back end accounting to editing to being the face of the brand while doing business development or even working with our B2C clientele. So they literally run everything for me because I'm in shoots pretty much all day, every day, and
Okay.
I'm kind of a workaholic. So I work about 29 to 30 days a month, and none of that would have been possible if it wasn't for the team.
Okay, that's nice. Yes, and in fact, you mentioned earlier that you're a type A personality, and then you often struggle a bit in pausing or taking time off. So
Yes.
yeah.
Not a good role model, but that's who I am.
No, but I really admire your hustle, what you've built for yourself. So it's wonderful that way. And, to go back, I
Thank
know
you.
you quit your job as a HR consultant, which you did for 7 years. And you said you tried out different, forms of art like theater, dance, and writing. And you finally decided, okay, photography is where you want to concentrate. But it's one thing to do something as hobby, another thing to see it as a business. Were you ever worried that if you turn it into a business and a career, it will suck the fun out of it?
I love that you've actually asked me that question. No one's ever asked me that. I was definitely worried. I got into photography thanks to surprisingly our common friend Rakesh,
Yeah.
who sort of gave me the or taught me the ropes of just figuring out the business side of things when I started out. So and I started out with wedding photography, assisting him on weddings, and I loved the photography bit. I didn't enjoy the weddings bit. So that's when
Okay.
babies sort of struck me as a brainwave one day. And I'm like, okay, what if I focus on just children and families? Because no one was doing that and it would be fresh. And I love kids. So it started out with that. I did have a lot of apprehensions around whether this would become a chore at some point. But
Okay.
Honestly, thanks to God, I've realized, and I keep saying this in all of these interviews or conversations I've had around it, is that I really, really, really love babies, and that's what's kept me going. So even though it's become a business, what really gets me excited and jumping out of bed every day is the fact that I'm going to be meeting a new baby who's going to be so much fun, and fun's a big part of our work, and the business side of things, I mean, you just have to handle it. But thankfully, I don't foresee this ever being just a job. So yes, touch wood, I never have to look back and worry about that, or look ahead and worry about it.
That's so nice to hear. And as a mother, right, once your kids have grown past the baby stage, you seldom get to hold another baby, right? Unless someone in very close to your family can, because, it's they might not be comfortable, but you get to actually do that every time.
I've never thought of it like that, but now that you mention it, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And also, I also get to give them back when they get too upset with me.
So it's a win-win situation.
Definitely.
But when you started, there was no one else in the field in India, though in West, this industry was, quite doing quite well abroad. In India, no one was there. Were you excited about that, or do you wish now, looking back, you had a community?
Mhm. Uh, 2014 is when I started, and you're right. There was literally nobody else doing this. I looked high and low across India on all digital platforms. I didn't find anyone specializing in it like I wanted to. So I did definitely miss a community, because while I did get inspired of the idea from the West, the challenges the Western photographers face versus what you face within an Indian ecosystem are very different, especially because Indians, all of us as a whole, we tend to protect our offsprings so much so that we believe in the concept of Buri Nazar or
Yeah.
Kannapattu and all of that. So we're just so worried about actually going out there and getting a photograph, a photo shoot done for our newborns. So that was one of my biggest challenges, and I had no idea how to work around it. I had to figure it out all on my own. That,
Okay.
along, or rather, coupled with lots of other challenges with working in the Indian ecosystem, that had to navigate and figure things out on a day-to-day basis. So I definitely did miss having a community, and I wish there was one. And very soon, it grew very soon. A year later, I knew over 100 people doing this as well, and it
Yeah.
became easy to make friends, have conversations with people who are not your family and are tired of listening to your business about photography. It was really nice to have the community, and now we're pretty huge as a community and very strong as well.
Okay, that's nice to hear. But at one point, did people tell you, okay, this won't really, it's not something to be taken seriously, this particular category of photography? Did you ever feel that?
Yeah, it was, people made sure you felt it. Okay, it was really hard. I heard this time and again from so many different people, be it work colleagues who saw me leaving, to like immediate friends and family who were like, are you, what are you doing with your life? This is not something you mess around with. And I had come to a
Yeah.
certain point in my career where, was sort of at my peak, where a lot of good things could happen, and I chose to leave at that point, which was very scary. And having the very little reassurance from everyone around you wasn't exactly helpful. Of course, I had
Okay.
that tribe who were backing me up and supporting me and pushing me to do it, but there were a lot of naysayers who said, this does not make sense, don't do it, it's kind of a stupid idea. So yeah, I mean, I guess there are certain people in your life, when they say this to you, you just want to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have such people in your life. You tend to push yourself further and try and make it work. And but more than that, I think I really wanted to make this work for myself, because it was a combination of both uh, um, a career that could sustain me, as well as satiating the creative artist in me, which was really troubling me for a long time.
Okay. And there was a time when it almost didn't work out. After 6 months, there were no clients lined up. You kind of thought of going back to doing HR, and but slowly it picked up. You said you built a portfolio, and people started coming in again, and that gave you the courage to, not go back to your corporate career. But When did it really take off? When did you have the confidence to take it from a one-woman show to start building a team around it?
You've really done your research. I can tell you that much for sure, because I've literally mentioned that in one other place. But now I can talk about it more freely now because I think those apprehensions have left me. So when I started, there was a hockey stick growth because it was such a new concept. Everybody wanted to jump in on it, and everybody wanted to make similar memories for their children. So, from that perspective, from the B2C perspective, great. It was all hunky dory. But 6 months in, I don't know why, I still try and think about it. I just stopped receiving calls, inquiries, everything, literally no communication, conversations anywhere on any of my platforms or my website. So I started to freak out a bit. And then it dawned on me that all those naysayers who said, maybe you're being silly about this, I'm like, maybe they were right. And then I, started to panic quite a bit. The 2 months of downtime I had, all I did was, ask friends and friends of friends to come in and just help, allow me to create what I want to create. And they were so kind. They gave me their time and their energy and their effort to allow me to create. And I just continued building a portfolio because I had no actual work for 2 whole months. And then I think towards the end of those 2 months, I started to reach out to all my mentors in the business, to a lot of my colleagues. And I said, maybe I might have to come back. This doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. What nobody tells you, and this is something, the guidance I lacked at that point, is that when you sign up for something like this, nobody prepares you for the fact that you're going to have peaks and you're going to have severe lows as well. And you've got to ride through it and wait it out. Because if you really want something, you have to be perseverant and you've got to stick it through. I wish I had that voice, like warning me or giving me some guidance, and I didn't. So I decided to go back. I applied to a few places. I got through 2 amazing offers, and then I declined it at the last moment because during my interview process, my business started to pick up and it started to pour. Like it was just pouring babies all over. It was amazing. I mean, I'm so grateful that it picked up, but that confusion, that period of confusion taught me a lot. Because I was really about to accept an offer and I stepped back, which kind of also helped, like it burnt a few bridges with people I know, which is not a nice space to be in, especially for someone like me who I love building relationships. So when I decided to go back to Mommy Shots, I decided that this would be it, come what may. No matter how many losses we have, we will stick it through because this is really what I want to do. And from then on, a lot of confidence built in, not because there was business coming in, but because I promised myself that I will stick it through no matter what and ride whatever wave comes our way. And that's when I decided to go from B2C to even to B2B now. So we work across the education sector, the healthcare sector, and the business side of things. So we have lots of brands working with us in the space as well. And yes, it was, it's been a roller coaster ride, not to say it was smooth sailing, but it's been a good ride.
That's nice to hear. But is a valid? Are you someone who seeks, who likes validation? And when you didn't get it, did it really dishearten you?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. I think everyone out there who thinks or believes they're an artist, um, wants validation at some point or at various points in their journey. So I did seek validation, especially in the beginning stages. And it was crazy that I was obsessed with social media validation at that point. Seeing whether a picture picks up to be popular or not, whether it's generating inquiries and all of those things. But over time, and I think as you age with experience, your perception towards life in general changes, and your perception towards who you are develops, and it grows, it evolves. And I started to realize that, I got into this for one reason, which was to create and to create beautiful things, create beautiful memories. So there was a certain point, I think somewhere 3 years in, I guess, I started to teach myself to stop following trends and stop looking for validation. Although, at the back of your head, there's a tiny voice bugging you saying, wait for it, or this is not working. People don't like this. People are commenting negatively on this, or people are saying things. It played a lot with my head, but I had to constantly fight it. And that wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy because I think as humans, we always look for validation. Today, I feel a little more secure. I'm not as I want to be, but I definitely am a little more secure about the bold changes I make in my photographs or in the way I approach a certain business situation. And that boldness really comes from all those years of fighting your instinct or your urge to please everyone around you and instead focus on who you are and what makes you happy.
That's true. It takes quite a bit of that inner journey to figure out what exactly is your path, right? Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. But during that time, who did you approach for constructive criticism? Who are your mentors?
Um, so my sisters are definitely two of my strongest mentors because I know there's no filter there. Years of living with one person just removes that filter, I think. So my sisters are definitely a point of validation, and just someone I bounce off ideas with. They're the ones who also backed me up on the idea to start photography and plunge into something completely different because they'd been down their own paths, and they were just advising me from their experience. So they're one. I do have a few close friends whom are so I actually balance it out between friends who are moms, so they can
Okay.
give me a feedback from a mom's perspective, and then
Yeah.
I do have friends who aren't parents yet, and just have nothing to do with this world, just to hear like a random person's point of view on things. And I think just this combination of this immediate inner circle tribe that I have has really helped me move forward. And there are a few people from my corporate life who've been colleagues and mentors in many ways, um, who I keep bouncing business ideas off of with
Okay.
to just hear a very random and a different perspective to scaling
Yeah.
a creative business.
I know sometimes
Yes.
those fresh eyes can really make a difference sometimes.
Yeah, or they could just say something so orbit and so random that you would never have thought of.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, what if you think about your business from a totally different perspective? It could work, and that has worked.
True.
Yeah.
I've noticed subconsciously, people tend to limit themselves in the sense, oh, I can't do that, or I might not be good at that. Over the years, what did you think was your limiting beliefs? And then you had to overcome it.
Um, this might sound very silly, but I've been. It's. I don't want to sound like a feminist while I say this, Mahathi, because sorry, I don't mean feminist. I mean sexist.
Okay.
Um, I am a feminist. I'm not so much a sexist, but I have been constantly battling a male dominant um, ecosystem I've entered into. I do believe there are a lot more women in photography right now, but when I
Yeah.
started out, there weren't as many. There were plenty amazing women to learn from, but there weren't as many. So I think a lot of my battles had to do with being a woman photographer. And I
Okay.
really dislike this topic so much because I'm just like, you can't attach the woman thing to a photographer and bias yourself. But I did experience so many situations where I wasn't treated like an equal because I was a woman, and that limitation starts to seep in as much as you don't want it to, as much as I brush it off today. It starts to sit inside your head, and it
Yeah.
starts to become this huge demon who thinks, or who tames you to believe you're not capable enough as the guy next to you. And that has been my own personal struggle.
Okay.
And it's all been subjected, or rather I've been subjected to it only because of the experiences I've had. And it could be just me facing those experiences and no one else, but they have been had, and it would be unfair to not state it.
Yeah.
And fighting that limitation to believe that you're just as capable as any other human on this planet has been really hard because of all those experiences.
Okay. And do those photographers, to say those male photographers, do they take your line of work seriously, or are they, sometimes there's sometimes a condescending remark, right? Oh, it's just baby photography. Have you come across that? I mean, not to be taken seriously?
You've hit the nail on the head with that one. It has
Okay.
been a lot of that, and also a lack of support and encouragement.
Okay.
It's both combined. And again, every time someone talks to me about being a female photographer or a woman photographer, I keep telling them drop the woman out of that conversation and focus on the photography aspect, and just keep nailing at it so hard that you become the best at it,
Yeah.
right? But here I am today. I'm highlighting this because of the experiences I've had. And yes, you're right. It has been. Um, I think my profession's been belittled in so many different ways, in so many different conversations, because it's babies and not maybe the most trendiest thing alive today. And a lot of people tie it to having maternal instincts, or it being simple because it's a child. Oh, people will love the photographs because it's their child's photographs. Who wouldn't love their own child's photographs? So a lot of those
Right.
statements have happened. You have to filter out within your head what to absorb and what to brush off.
Yeah.
But some of it sticks with you, and yeah, it is, I think, a challenge we've been facing for centuries.
Yeah, that's true. As a woman, that happens. But in
Yeah.
so many ways, it's great that you made it easier for other women photographers to, follow in your path. Um, for now, is it? How do you? What I want to ask you is, how do you balance being content and being ambitious? When do you push yourself, and when do you take a step back and say, "Let me see where it goes"?
Okay, if you had asked me this question last year, I'd be like, there's no such thing called content. I just have to be at the top of the game at all times. But I think the last year with the pandemic and everything that has happened has taken such a toll on all of our mental health.
Yeah.
And for me, mental health was just a concept until I actually faced some trouble in that space last year. And then I knew it came to a point where I knew I needed to seek help, and I did sign up for therapy. Went through 7 months of it because I was going through a crazy amount of anxiety and burnout. Now, I know
Okay.
therapy is not something a lot of people like to talk about openly, or mental health is
No,
such a taboo thing.
no,
But
it's good you're talking
I
about it.
mean, yeah, but it,
Yeah.
it was a very extreme case for me where I knew I needed professional help to help me see things clearly because I was losing focus. It was all blurred lines. So I think over the last 7 months of therapy, I have learned a lot. And I think it's helped me evolve to a whole new extent where I have understood ambition and understood where to draw the line. Like I said earlier, I had issues with being a workaholic and I used to work crazy hours.
Okay.
I still do, but I have learned how to draw a line now. And I can see what's enough to make me content and not jump beyond that, or beyond a point that I would lose my sanity.
Okay.
So yes, so to answer your question, I have not been the expert in that space, and I seeked help, and now I'm a lot better, a lot happier with any amount of progress we're making in a certain space versus being the anxious, uh, ambitious me.
Okay. But what is it that worried you the most? Was it that you were scared, your career would stall, or you'd become complacent? What was that worry now looking back?
I think it was a combination of all of the things you mentioned, and it's been this. I don't know if it's a Capricorn trait or a Type A trait or what, but there's this crazy obsession with being really good at what I do, um, and dealing with being second in line or third in line. Right? It was this obsession I had growing up, and it got to me after a certain point, and now I've learned to deal with it. I'm still dealing, but I'm in a better space where I can talk about it freely, and sit back and let somebody else take over. So
Okay.
it was a combination of all of those things you mentioned. I think fear of losing control on what you think you're so good at,
Right.
or the fact that a lot of my confidence and security comes from the identity I develop, which is who I am and what I do,
Yeah.
and really starting to expand your horizons beyond just that. It's a lot of learning. It's been a very interesting year for me myself. Yeah.
That's so true. You really, explain that well. Because for me also, right, I used to work as a journalist, and so much of my identity, I was so proud of what I was doing. And then when I decided to take a break, when I became a mom, suddenly I was like, who am I, And so over the years, I've realized the importance of honoring or just being happy as who you are as a person, right? And not tie your identity to do your work, which I think was nice that you put it that way. So yeah, it was good to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm just adding to that is the fact that um, we're a sum total of all our experiences, not just the work experience, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I learned it too late, but I'm just glad I learned it, and I'm not uh, as obsessed as I was earlier. It's so much
Okay.
better now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is your strength or and your weakness as an entrepreneur?
That's such a tough question to answer. Uh, I think my strength definitely lies with this particular trait that I've been dealing with on controlling, which is my ambition or my perseverance to to be really good, to basically being a perfectionist,
Okay.
right? So I may not exactly be a perfectionist with all of my work that you see, but I strive for it. And I feel like that has helped us as a company grow leaps and bounds. And I also inculcate a lot of, well, not too much, but just the right amount of that culture within the company as well, to make sure, we don't, or rather we strive to be 99.9% good at what we do. My weakness
Okay.
has been, and is still is, and I'm still dealing with it, uh, is to say no and draw the line with where to say no, because
Yeah.
there are so many opportunities and you don't want to lose out on them. And uh, where do you say no? I think
Yeah.
that's something I'm still learning on and working on.
And when you say no, you're considered rude, or so yeah, that's the
That
thing with,
too, or
yeah,
there's also fear about,
yeah.
oh, what did I lose out on? Did I miss out on
Mm.
some FOMO? Basically, a lot of FOMO,
All right,
which
yeah.
is a great skill to master.
True. You've come so far and you won awards for your work. Do you sometimes have days where you get up and this immense feeling of this imposter syndrome hits you? Have you had such days?
I've had those days a lot in the last 7 years. So many conversations, so many pitches. So one a really, really good friend who's a filmmaker once told me, "You win some, you lose lots in
Yeah.
this industry," and that stuck with me, because it wasn't supposed to be pessimistic. It's just about focusing on the wins, right? But there are so many pitches, so many conversations, so many times I feel like, am I? I'm making myself sound like I'm so good, but am I that good? Every time I switch on a
Yeah.
video to do a session with students when I'm teaching. So case in point, I've faced the imposter syndrome so much, and it's an ongoing battle. And I feel like it always somehow finds a way to creep into your mind, even though you're confident and you're secure and you've done this 100 times over. And I think that really comes from our overall upbringing,
Okay.
as women, and what we're taught that we're great to be doing, and versus what we are doing.
Yeah.
I feel like that has been changing over the last couple of years, and I see a lot more parents focusing today on conscious parenting, and you'll relate to this more than I do, which is now we're all focusing on teaching our girls to be stronger, um, to speak up for
Yeah.
themselves, to not deal with being termed bossy or deal with being boxed. And I feel that that is going to create a whole new generation of very, very strong women. And
Yeah.
we're all part of that history. We're all going to be part of that history.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. But all of these so-called imposter syndrome situations we've faced are a matter of what society's taught us.
Okay. That's a nice way to put
Do
it.
you agree?
Yes, partly, and I do agree partly to it, and also I think imposter syndrome. From people I've spoken to, entrepreneurs and all that. So I've noticed both women and men go through it, and men. I think they, like you said, men are a little more confident than us because I think again the way they've been brought up, so they know
Mm-hmm.
how to get over it or not let it stall them. Whereas women, I think maybe they hit a roadblock and then like, okay, am I really worth all this, and then they know how
You're
to
right.
work around it and they get over it. But yeah, I do agree to to the part where you say it's how we are brought up sometimes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But what, as you've climbed up the ladder, what is the biggest thing you've learned about yourself or unlearned?
Um, lots of things I've unlearned, when you're
What
um,
is the most important thing that strikes you?
I'm going to take a minute to actually reflect on this question because it's such a
Sure.
strong question. Um, I think in terms of learning, when you're learning to run a business and you're learning to also perform as an artist, and then sort of deal with all the shenanigans involved with, a small business and creative entrepreneurship, if I may, I think you get to know who you are, at a very deep level. It's a very different perspective, and I may not be articulating this as well as I want to, but I'm just saying that I have discovered and understood myself in ways that I would never have in, say, a personal relationship, or in a relationship with my family or my siblings. This
Right.
is this is a real test of your perseverance, your patience, your temperament, and you start to understand yourself at a deeper level. And then I think it teaches you to also sign up or step out of certain situations. You start to pick
Okay.
your battles more wisely, right, based on
Yeah.
your understanding of who you are. Things I've unlearned are the more bratty things I've been raised with, I think. And this is very personal to me, which is, it's so hard for me to pinpoint and say there's that one thing I unlearned. Um,
It's good
yes,
that
I
these
think one thing
questions
I
are
would
making
point
you
out,
think.
they really are. Yes, the fact that expecting everyone to work like you do, or everyone to respond and communicate like you do, I unlearned it over while building a team. Um, while I'm this proactive, super end-to-end to cutlet, they call them, right? Super enthusiastic employee or person now, is I expect everyone in my team to behave the same way and to be equally excited about things. And I realized that
Yeah.
it's not possible to expect that. And there's a process to getting them up to that level you want them to be at, and that process involves a whole bunch of factors, which I'm not going to get into. But I think that was one of the biggest things I had to unlearn: the fact that everybody will behave like I do in those situations.
Yeah.
It may seem like a small thing, but it actually was a really big learning I had to undo and unlearn and relearn all over
Okay.
again.
Okay. Actually, that was a point made by an entrepreneur. I don't know if you've heard of him, Gary Vaynerchuk. And
Yes.
yeah, so it's a point he actually, a very interesting point he makes. He says, you cannot expect your employees to work as hard as you. It's not their company, it's your company. So,
Yes.
it says a lot of important things like that. So, nice, relevant
While
things. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I love Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Absolutely love all the advice he has to share. While he spoke about having your employees work as hard as you because they don't own the company, I think for me it was more about just understanding that they will not even show up to work as excited as you, and
Yeah.
then to get them excited was the big challenge that I had to unlearn and like relearn. So yes, yeah,
Yeah. And you have a team of how many now?
we're about five full-time, three interns, so totally eight.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. And
Yes.
that's nice. Of all the shoots that you do so many verticals, right? Which brings you most joy?
I mean, they're all babies, so I love all of those verticals, but I have to pick one. It would definitely be newborns. When you walk into a room and there are a bunch of people sitting there, and people personally, it's a nice feeling, right? You walk in
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, familiar faces, lots of good energy. But when you walk into a room and there's a newborn in that room, there's a certain positive aura. I don't know if I sound like a crazy person saying this, but there is this amazing aura in that room with a child or a newborn in there. Um, and I get to experience that every single day. There's a certain calm that comes with the baby. There's a certain positivity that's radiating around the room with that baby in there. And
Yeah.
that's something I don't take for granted because, I've been in and out of those rooms. So it's just beautiful. So I love working with newborns for that reason. Going through a newborn shoot is literally like going through a 2-hour meditation cycle for me. You just, no matter what mood you've entered in, you walk out feeling like a whole new person, like there's a whole rejuvenation of the mind situation happening there. So yes,
Okay.
newborns it is for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think something about them is just pure joy. So,
Yes.
yeah. But, I've also noticed that your maternity shoots have become bolder over the years. Has that been a conscious decision or it just happened by chance?
That has been a very, very conscious decision. I've always been for, um, I think, the overall success of women. Um, Oh man, I can't believe I'm making this entire conversation around women. Some of my answers are actually resonating that, but this is really how I feel. I've always wanted to support women and help them grow. Be it a colleague at work where I see an opportunity for them, I wouldn't refrain from telling them or sharing with them. If there's someone on my team who wants to grow with a certain idea or phase, I'm trying to do everything I can to encourage and support them. It's
Yeah.
just something that's in it to me. Also, I'm we're three sisters and my mom, so there are like more women in the house. I think it comes from there, because we're always supporting and helping each other. And I think this was my way to help women also break a lot of stereotypes and bust a lot of myths around, uh, you know, being coy and shy versus being coy and shy with your maternity phase. I mean, it's the most beautiful thing. It's possibly the biggest achievement a human has made, right? Making a baby is no easy feat. And we're all really conservative around it. And I'm like, why are we this way? I mean, this is beautiful. This is a gorgeous phase.
Yeah.
So flaunt that baby bump. It's beautiful. It's a part of who you are and what you're doing in life. And you're raising a child. That's the most selfless thing you can ever do as a woman, as a as a human. So that's why my tone of the maternity shoots you've seen from the past to now have changed, because I've been slowly trying to progressively go into the space where I just sort of let women be who they are in front of the camera versus going with a certain trend of dressing a certain way and posing a certain way. While
Okay.
I may be doing that, I still have these conversations with all the moms who are inquiring, and I ask them, what do you want to do? What's your outlook in life uh, about having a baby, about starting a whole new journey? And when I hear them out and when I see their existing profiles and I see who they are, I'm like, why don't you just bring this person out here? It's a very organic conversation that leads to this. And so I started doing a lot of these fashion maternity shoots of late,
Yeah.
because I don't want anyone to just come in and get boxed into the trend, but I just want to let them be who they are.
Okay.
And we just go all out with those shoots and give them the whole experience of it being, diva for the day. So it's like it to a Vogue cover shoot or to a Cosmopolitan cover shoot, where I just wanted to have the whole experience and really enjoy the phase they're going through in whatever way they like. So this is just one of those ways to express.
Yeah. And you never know. One day it will end up as a Vogue on the Vogue cover. So
Fingers crossed.
yes.
A girl can
Oh,
hope. Yeah.
yeah. Do you ever, what do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed? How do you balance yourself?
Um, I sort of live the moment. I live through it. But
Okay.
the way I deal with it is, I think letting some of that energy go, be it, too much positive energy or too much negative energy, whatever it is, I deal with releasing those feelings with workouts or doing something apart from photographing. But these are really tough questions, Mahathi. No, but frankly said, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I deal with it. I've never shut my laptop and run away from it. I've always
Okay.
just dealt with it head on. And weirdly enough, that has always worked better for me than, shoving it away and saying I'll deal with it later.
Okay. Do you like break it
Yeah.
down into small steps or whatever that is worrying you?
Um, Let me give you an example. For me, dealing with my PNL statements are the worst. Like for me, that overwhelms me, right? Because maths
Okay.
is not my favorite subject. But I actually jump right into it and start breaking it down. Like you said, I would take baby steps and try and figure out the overall solution. But
Okay.
for that, I just need a clear head. And to get that clear head is when I start dealing with it by, getting a workout in, or, just doing something completely off. So when I come back to it, my head's completely clear and I'm a
Right.
little more composed to handle the situation.
Okay.
I'm
Talking
calling it
about
situation. Sorry,
no, that's
when it's math.
fine.
But go on. Yeah.
Talking about P&L statements, I've spoken to a lot of women entrepreneurs, right? And one of the things they talk about is how difficult as a woman entrepreneur to raise capital or to just get funds. Was that something that you have struggled with? Have you had to raise
Uh,
capital at any point?
well, no, I've not had to raise capital because we've been a bootstrap company from the beginning.
Okay.
However, now we've actually moved into a new space altogether. We've become a media house, a creative agency, and we're creating content for brands, video content for brands. And these are really high production, costs. So there are lots of pitches where we have to raise, or rather, give them good enough reason to buy into it. So
Okay.
that's, I wouldn't equate it to raising capital or funds, but it is a
Yeah.
considerable amount you're asking brands to pay for to create digital assets. So I have been in those situations, and I wouldn't say it's a woman entrepreneur thing, but I just think it's this is where your imposter syndrome kicks in, and your self-doubt creeps in, and you start to get nervous around, are you asking for too much, or is this the
Right.
right amount? Are you equivalent to the worth you're asking for? Those questions definitely do creep in, and I think this would happen even to a male entrepreneur, for all I
Yeah.
know. But just making sure you reassure yourself, and
Yeah.
push those insecurities out, and believe in your strengths and your worth and value you're going to provide. That's a hard conversation to have inside your head when you're
Yeah.
actually making these pitches.
Yeah, that's true. And in terms of the industry, what is the biggest change that you foresee is going to happen that you need to adapt as you grow? For instance, I'll give you an example. I think a while back, right? I think a year or 2 years back, you started showing tutorials for mothers on how to click pictures on the phone, which I thought was interesting, right? Because there's, I don't know, maybe now that the iPhone is so sharp, the phone, the camera is so good, and with the portrait mode, you get such lovely pictures. And the fact that you actually did a tutorial about that was very interesting. I mean, when I was doing the research on you as well, I couldn't help and think about, what happened to Anne Geddes, right? We all know her. She was so famous back in the 90s. She had these coffee table books, and she had these, cards and Hallmark type of cards. And so of lately, because of those revenues ran out, with the Instagram and social media opening up. And she recently did an interview 2 months back where she talks about where the person, now she needs patrons to help her go through, if she needs a project to be done, she needs patrons to fund it. So the reporter actually asked her, do you find that icky to ask, from where you were once interviewed by Oprah? She says, no, I'm actually kind of relieved. I am not, everyone thinks I was this icon and all that, and every baby photography was something that I did, but I didn't. And it's nice to actually have a refreshing change. So she was talking about adapting to the industry. I know I've gone little, tangent to the conversation, but what do you think needs to be adapted, as you evolve? Do you think, studio portraits will still be relevant few years from now? Do you think people will want more lighthearted stuff? What do you
Mhm.
foresee in the industry? Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I think that's an amazing question. And also, it's interesting that you brought up Anne Geddes, because she is universally the only newborn photographer we know who started this entire trend of photographing
Yeah.
newborns in different ways. Um,
You
a
should
great
read our
inspiration for
article.
many.
Sorry, you should read our article. You might enjoy it. So,
I've read plenty, but I haven't seen this latest interview, which I'm going to look up.
yeah.
However, what I like you rightly pointed out, Mahathi, is the fact that technology has advanced so much that it has become so easy for the average Joe to pick up a phone camera and take an amazing picture, right? So does that threaten photographers today? And what's going to happen, say, 5 years from now, when we have phones that do everything? Maybe even your DSLR camera will be so intuitive that you just pick it up and press a button and it does a job
Yeah.
for you. And then, hey, do we need a photographer? No, we don't, right? That's usually a very common question I hear a lot, or people talking about a lot today. What's important, or what we can do right now while we're in the space of photography as someone who has control over a device that we understand to and have learned to use so well. One, I feel like newborn photographers or child photographers will continue to be in demand, because at one point or the other, um, the parents will have to be in the picture as well. That's when you really feel the need to
Yeah.
have someone else behind the lens, right? Maybe one day that need will go to when you have a camera that's so easy to use that you can just put it on a tripod and somebody just hits the button for you. But however, with our work comes a lot of creative vision, the way we look
Yeah.
at a certain situation, where how to get them posed, how to get them comfortable, how to elicit moments, which is what is really the trend today, which is how do you what do you say? It's called lifestyle photography, or you put it under the umbrella of lifestyle photography, where it's really natural moments among the family members that are captured so beautifully by photographers around the world. So I feel like the need for a photographer will always be there, and
Yeah.
no matter how far technology advances. But what we can do and what we should be prepared for is all this beautiful technology coming our way and coming our consumers' way. We can just focus on one thing, which is to be so good at our jobs that you will always have work. That's within our realm of control, and we should really focus all our energies on that. Beyond which, when the world develops cameras that are way easier for everyone to use, yes, there could be a reduction of work. I think it's important as a photographer today to actually think about other avenues of income or set up other businesses, even because we don't know what the situation is going to look like 7 to 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thought to play with or toy with right now, because things are changing every single day with technology coming in. You can choose to look at it as a threat, or you can choose to look at it as an opportunity and use it to your advantage by focusing on the one thing we have control on right now, which is to be the absolute best at what you do.
True. And I'm of the belief that no matter how much technology progresses, we still need that human touch. So,
That is true. That is so true. I think you've really nailed it with that one. The fact I really don't see us, ever becoming a robot any day, because there
yeah.
is so much we do with the camera that can never be done by a robot or even with an autopilot mode going on.
I agree. Yeah. And another important question I wanted to ask you was during this pandemic, you obviously met so many mothers, would-be mothers, and new mothers who've just given birth. So a friend of mine recently gave birth a couple of months back to her child,
Mhm.
and she had a harrowing time during how it is delivering during this COVID times, right? And in fact, I think she almost tested positive, and she was so worried for a child. Will a child be positive and everything? So in that sense, have you had any requests from any of the mothers to document what it is they've gone through during this COVID phase? How was it to be pregnant during a time like this? How was it to deliver at a time like this? Has anyone approached you with such a request, or is that something that you think you might consider?
Um, no, I really wish I had a better answer for you there, but we actually haven't got any of these requests. But we have had parents share these experiences with us in so many different ways. I think the one, I mean, I'm just bringing this down tactically to one request that I got, which was during a shoot, saying that, with everything that we had and the fact that we were so scared to be uh, we were so scared to actually have our baby delivered in the peak of COVID last April or May. We want one picture of us holding the baby and wearing a mask. They're like, even though it's not the best time to remember, we still want to
Yeah.
have this as,
Yeah.
having had a baby when the whole world came to a halt. So that's literally the only request I've had. But, in terms of other requests or other ways to capture this, I think everyone's trying to move away from it so fast that, yeah, it's not been a very popular request.
Okay.
These are things they want to internalize and hopefully put behind them.
Yeah. But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. But I really hope something like this gets documented, because I feel the pandemic has been very unfair to women. With mothers had suddenly become overburdened, not just with work, with household and online classes. And just seeing, I know a few mothers who delivered, and the anxiety they had and everything. I don't know, maybe 10 years, 20 years from now, when we talk about the pandemic, I think a good narration of it should come from what women went through, right? So, because we were the most,
Um,
yeah, affected, I think.
mhm.
So,
I'm going to just add to this question because I was thinking from the photography angle purely, and I'm like, we haven't documented anything like this. People still want to document the good moments, and put this behind them, like I said. But one thing that we have done, like I was mentioning earlier, we've sort of become a creative agency now where we're creating video content for a lot of brands. The one series that I started as a Mommy Shots production was something called Bringing Up My Kids.
yeah.
We've launched the pilot episode, which is on my page on my YouTube channel as well, where it's a Q&A format with moms asking about the parenting styles and how they keep their kids engaged, how they make parenting look so effortless online, but what is the reality within. And I
Yeah.
want them to share their joys and struggles so everybody relates to it, because as we know, there are so many pockets of mom communities across areas even, and there isn't one universal platform that talks about it at a higher level, which is what I was trying to do with bringing up my kids. And the forthcoming episodes actually capture a lot of this. How have you dealt with how have you kept your kids engaged or busy during the lockdown? How have you dealt with the you know just all that face time? There's suddenly so much
Yeah.
face time because the kids don't go to school, and you've got to be in their face, but you've got to be entertaining them at all times, so that they're also learning, but they're also having fun. They're also enjoying the whole online school experience in whatever forms, be it them sleeping in front of the cameras or whatever. But everyone's trying really hard, and you're right. I think it has been a really difficult time on parents in general, and we're trying to capture a lot of that essence that other moms can resonate with, and also bust a lot of stereotypes in terms of sharing the load between parents.
Yeah.
All of this is content we're focusing on the future episodes, and we're hoping that is some sort of a way to help everyone out there, or just sort of relate to everyone out there with with their own experiences.
No, definitely. It's great you're doing that. You're bringing this up, right? In fact, I saw the first episode with Disha Madan, so it was really nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to ask you, are there any requests do you see requests now from single parents, or are parents with children who have disabilities? Have they come up and, asked to be photographed? Is there, because you don't see much of that aspect of the parenting. So have you been approached for that?
Yes, yes. We actually have done a whole bunch of shoots on parents who even adopted kids with disabilities, who have kids who are special kids, and we've actually let the parents decide if they, ever want us to upload these images online or not. We leave it to their comfort levels
Yeah.
in these situations, and we never really have put up too much. I think maybe just one or two, but we do get requests, and I love the fact that it's there are no boundaries around this space, and
Right.
I get to meet moms and parents from across the world, across different countries, different cities, different stories they come with. It's beautiful what we get to meet on an everyday basis. So yes, we've met with a lot of single moms as well. In fact, what we're doing right now are two very interesting series which kind of went on pause because of the lockdown. One is a series on moms who are also acid attack victim survivors,
Oh,
and
okay.
we're trying to bring out their stories. They're supported by an NGO based in Bangalore that is, helping them with rehab as well as with, cosmetic improvements if they want. And they're helping raise funds with this. Now, what we're doing is we're trying to portray or create a series of portraits of these moms with their kids, just the way we would with anyone else. We want to sort of have them have their breakthrough in society where, right now they do feel like they're not treated as equals, and we want to break that and help them
Yeah.
be accepted, normalize who they are, and not singled out because of their experiences. So that's, a series we're working on. And another one is a series with single parents as well, where we're talking about the strength you require. It's a lot of mental strength to actually play dual
Yeah.
roles and raise a child. And we want to talk about that a little more. So we give, in a way, we sort of emanate and give more strength to other single moms out there who are reading it. And they don't hesitate to step up in situations that are family oriented, where, they all expect that they all feel like they're incomplete because they don't have a spouse. And it's 2021. We shouldn't be feeling like that anymore.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
amazing you're doing these projects. I can't wait to see them. I also really like the campaign that you run for donating your breast milk, because there's so much of taboo involved around it, right? So that's great. You're doing all this different types of campaigns. It's really wonderful. So hats off.
Thanks, Mahathi. Actually, you know what? If I didn't have a PNL to look at the end of the day, this is all I would be doing. I like I said earlier, I really, really, really love kids, and I just want to make the place better for them, make the world a better place for them. And as cliche as it sounds, it really has been my intent to get into the space to do something for kids. So whatever energy and time I have left over, I try to focus it on these projects. And right now, we've actually built and thank God. I mean, this is out of a lot of hard work. We've managed to, sort of um, be profitable enough to actually dedicate an entire team to something called the Mommy Shots Foundation. We've
Okay.
started this March and has gone on hold already, but we're looking to do some great things under the foundation, because all our our passion projects that we've been doing so far will all get grouped under this, and will also help raise funds and make a more considerable impact. And this is really why I'm in this space, apart
That's
from loving
amazing.
photography.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, I would be thrilled to see more such campaigns from your side. I think it will definitely add to your legacy. So it will be wonderful to see that. Yeah.
Thank you. Legacy is a strong word.
Going forward. So
Thank you.
yeah. Uh, I know I've asked you some tough questions, so I'm just going to go a little light. So, what is it something about you that you think would surprise others that others don't really know?
um, that something as random as I I don't know if it's appropriate to say, I just love taking a shower. That's like my way to bounce back to life. For some people it's coffee, for me it's showers. So I'll take 3 showers a day, 4 showers a day. Most people don't know this except for my family, but yeah, that's just as random as it can get.
Nice. Okay. How else do you express your creativity other than photography?
I used to do a lot of things earlier. Everything's sort of been cut short now with work taking up all of my time. But I used to dance professionally earlier, and I love dancing. So I try to get that in a little bit with my Instagram reels or whatever avenues I can do that, or just at 30-second dance parties when I actually hit something or hit a goal or something. But I honestly don't have the time to do anything else. I love um, uh, like I said, I love dancing. I love even acting, but I don't get to do any of it anymore. So
Okay.
instead, I just sit back and consume a lot of content via Netflix and OTT platforms online.
Okay. Who's a current content creator that whose work that you really like?
uh, wow, there's so many. It's unbelievable what TikTok and
Yeah,
Instagram
no.
Reels have brought to life, right?
Whose name
Everyone's a
comes
content
up on
creator.
top? Yeah.
Um, okay, I really love Allison and her husband. Um, God, I don't know his real name. I just know his handle. But Allison is a dancer in California, and uh, I love the videos of her and her husband coming up with these choreographies. They're just amazing.
Okay.
But otherwise, content creator wise, there's some really funny ones.
Yeah.
South Indian ones like Kusha Kapila and
Dolly.
a few others like Dolly. Yes, a whole bunch of them. Right? I thinking favorite one. Um, yeah, I think it would have to. I like Masu Minawala. I love the way she spins all her content in a very engaging manner. Though it's all about fashion,
Okay.
she finds a way to keep you hooked through her videos. So I really love her videos for that. Yeah,
Okay. And in terms of
yeah.
photography, anyone in particular out there?
Ah, yes, Vanessa Joy in New York.
Okay.
I love how she spins different photography scenarios or photographer-based scenarios into her reels. They're really funny, and she's
Okay.
an amazing photographer herself. She's a wedding photographer based out of New York.
Okay, I'll check that out. Okay. I've come across one called Kyle Nutt, I think. Or I don't know. He's really good. So he does all his work on an iPhone, and it's amazing the results that he shows. So
Okay, I
yeah.
have to look this up for sure.
Yeah, I think Kyle Nutt. So I hope I got his name wrong. Right. Anyways, so what would you go back to school for? Or if I can rephrase that, what you wish they taught you?
Okay, those are two very different questions. One, I'll answer both because the first one is
Okay.
exciting. I would go back to school just for all the extracurricular activities I was a part of. I used to go to school just to be there for post school hours activities.
Okay.
If you gave me a choice, I would show up to school at 3 p.m. just when our our dramatic exercise, theater rehearsal started or our dance rehearsal started. That's all I lived for through school and college. Showing up in class was the mandate, so I had to be there. But
Yeah.
what I wish they taught us in school were, I think, two important things. One, financial independence. How did they forget that? And two,
Yeah.
mental health awareness. How did they forget that too? I just don't know how
I
you
agree.
can send adults out into the world without being preparing them for the big meltdowns that we inevitably have at some point in our life.
Yeah.
So yeah. those two things.
Yeah, those are two important things which we struggle with as an adult. Yeah, so I agree. What is a one mistake that you did in hindsight that's worked out in your favor?
I'll assume you're just going to edit all these pauses out because that's a tough question. Um, um, that worked out in my favor. Okay, okay.
Take your time. No rush.
I, mm, I honestly can't think of anything that was a mistake and that turned out in my favor. Okay, I mean, I'm going to go back to the example of when I almost took up a full-time job. I met with my media team, some 8 or 9 rounds of interviews, and I got to meet some really amazing people I look up to in the corporate world as well, uh, which honestly was a mistake because I did not sign up to join and work with them full time. And I went back to my own business. But all of those contacts are good friends today. Uh, they're mentors. They
Yeah.
still surprisingly are such nice humans. They still support all my endeavors on LinkedIn. I see them sort of share words of encouragement, share my content, and I think it worked out in my favor surprisingly. Although I would have been really pissed if I was in their place. But yeah, that would
Okay,
be the one mistake.
that's nice to hear. Okay, my final question. I know you love babies and you love photography, but why do you do what you do?
Okay, I'm sad that it's the last question because I was really loving the whole thing and I was just getting into the groove of things. But no, I'm kidding.
I'm glad you
Why do
love
I
the
do?
session.
Why I do what I do? Um, I think this definitely will go back to my mother. She's a culinary expert and a creative. She has, I think, taught students across the city, across cities, how to. She's taught them art. She's taught them cooking. She's taught them a whole bunch of things. So I think that little bug inside my head that wants me to constantly create comes from her genetically, and
Okay.
that's really why I do what I do. I love creating. If it means writing a book, if it means not that I've written a book, if it means painting, if it means just expressing yourself in some form or the other, um, it's always been her that has helped me get around to doing something. So dance, theater, everything, all expressions, all mediums of expressions, and photography is the same thing. It's a medium of expression, but it is also a medium of expression that has sustained me as a career because the others did not have strong foundations back in the day when I looked at them as options.
Okay.
So yes, I think why I do what I do is because of my mom. She's really been someone who's defined me to be who I am today and who's helped me believe that there's beauty or there's beauty in creation. And yes,
Wonderful.
I hope that passes off. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to end it also, a tribute to your mom. So
Thank
yeah.
you so much, Mahathi. This was so much fun. And this was like a really interesting bunch of questions that really made me think.
I'm glad. And I had such a lovely time talking to you. It was really wonderful getting to know you. So
Likewise. Thanks, Dan.
thanks so much.